You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Hello, and welcome to GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Ternice Anderson. Each week, we discuss topics important to our diverse community. Since 1976, the Fine Arts Department at Germantown High School has impacted thousands of students who went on to become actors, directors, singers, musicians, artists, lawyers, nurses, teachers, entrepreneurs. The list goes on. In honor of the department's 45th anniversary, we are taking a look at what makes this program so unique. Allison Long is the director of what is now known as the Creative and Performing Arts Program and is a GHS alumnus herself. Welcome to the show, Mrs. Long.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
As we mentioned earlier in the introduction, I would like you to give us a little bit of an explanation and history of the GHS Fine Arts Department.
Oh, the GHS Fine Arts Department has been around for as long as I can remember. I grew up in Germantown High School, and I remember thinking that when I was in middle school, I wanted to be a part of this program. And I really didn't know a lot about it other than there were plays that were happening and just a lot of people seemed to be involved in high school. So again, in middle school, No No Nanette was the musical that was happening at Germantown High School, and they came and performed, the cast came and performed at Germantown Middle for the student body there. And the minute I saw those actors and actresses, hard to believe that they were juniors and seniors in high school, I knew I wanted to do that. So when I came to Germantown, I started to participate. But like I said, it had gone on for many years prior to me getting here. In '94 was when I graduated, and then it's continued on long after I left.
And in 2015, the department was rebranded as the Creative and Performing Arts Program. How has this changed the caliber of the students that are part of the program today?
You know, I don't think that it's changed the caliber of the student. I think any student that gets involved in this program doesn't really know what their potential is until they become a part of this and they see the things that they can do and they become able to do those things and excel in those things. So I don't think the caliber has changed. I think the landscape has broadened for the amount of students that are able to come here as a creative and performing arts student now, rather than being just zoned for Germantown and going to the school that you're zoned for. If you see that Germantown offers something that you're interested in the Kappa program, be it theater, visual art, band, strings, choral music, film and video, you can apply and audition to become part of the school. So anybody in the county has the opportunity to be a part of it, whereas that's not always been the case.
And what makes GHS different from other schools in terms of fine arts?
Yeah, GHS has state-of-the-art equipment as far as our GHS-TV facility. It's a multi-million-dollar television studio that started really probably early 70s, late 80s, where it just started to build through the years and now has pretty much anything that you can imagine that a state-of-the-art studio does. So that's not typical of any high school. Likewise, our visual art program, our choral music program, our theater program, we've had alumni that have graduated from Germantown that come back to teach. But we also have in our choral music program, our strings program, and our band program, instructors that not necessarily, they didn't graduate from Germantown, but they have an understanding of the benchmark and the standards that Germantown has, and they teach for those students to reach those standards.
And how does someone become a part of the program?
That's a good question. In January, the Shelby County Schools, it's now Memphis Shelby County Schools, they put an application process out. So right now, as we speak, there is still the opportunity to apply to become part of the Creative and Performing Arts program. If you were to go to the scsk12.org website, there is a banner there for optional schools to click if you're interested. And then you scroll down and you can find that it's both in English and in Spanish. And look for the optional schools button. And in that button, there's a drop-down menu. So when you see Germantown High School, there's one of two options that you can choose from, our International Baccalaureate program or the Creative and Performing Arts program. So you have to make sure that you hit the Creative and Performing Arts program. And while there is not a place to indicate the discipline that you're interested in, be it visual art, theater, film, etc., once I get that application and see that the student meets the requirements, then I can call and I can find out what area is of specific interest for that student.
And Ms. Long, is there a certain audition process that students have to go through?
There is, and it differs depending on what area the student's interested in. Obviously, students who come as a freshman into this school, they may not have a portfolio of work, especially when it comes to film and video. But students, especially with TikTok and with your cameras and your iPhones, you're able to take pictures. And I like to talk about the shot composition of those pictures, why that subject is of interest. When it comes to visual art, I like to see the artwork that the student is interested in, what medium they like to use, maybe it might be mixed media, and why, again, those subjects are the things that they are creating and what's drawing them to the subject and what do they hope to convey by those things. With theater, two contrasting dialogues, one comedic and one dramatic. I like to see that unless the student is a singer and would like to do a bit of musical theater for us as well. That would be part of the theater audition. And then of course with band, with strings, and with choral music, a piece would need to be selected and performed. And that's usually between the instructor and the student auditioning.
Well, Mrs. Long, you are the executive producer of GHS-TV. Can you tell us some of the benefits students get for working in a TV studio?
Oh my goodness, I could go on for days for the benefits of working in the studio. As a student myself, I came in because I liked theater, and I thought that I was good at theater. I'm not the most talented when it comes to theater. And television gave me a lot of insight into who I was as a person and the things that I could get done. And it was all under like the auspice that I was learning about television. And I really was learning about television, but I didn't know at the time I was learning more about myself. But television helps with organization. If you're a producer and you're putting together, if you're any crew member and you're putting together a show, you've got to be organized in how you do it and do it in a timely manner. If you are, it helps with follow through. You're taking something from the very beginning and you're creating it, and it's not done when the show is over and the credits roll. It's done when that piece of material that you've created is presented wherever it needs to be presented. It could be on air, it could be to an audience at a presentation. So being a part of this program teaches you the ins and outs of film and of television, of course. But it teaches you so much more about working as a team, about creating your confidence as an individual, being able to lead a group of people, but also knowing like when to step back and when to take direction and to not get your feelings hurt if you're being criticized, because that only makes you better. It's like being a part of a sports team. You know, your coach is not going to say, well, baby, you know, you're doing a really good job, but you need to run the other way to make a touchdown. I mean, they're going to get in your face and say, what are you thinking? You know, that's the wrong way. And so there's a lot of learning for a lot of us that being critical of somebody to get the job done is not a personal attack, but it's a way to help you get the job done the way that it needs to be done.
Well, Mrs. Long, thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
No, absolutely, and thank you. It's been fun to watch you grow in this program as well, and I wish you the best of luck.
We have to take a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss the power of music education and the opportunities it offers to students.
Art is really an expression of the self. If you look at a piece of art, you can see the artist within it.
All just really depends on what I feel like doing at the time. I generally have different ideas every day.
I really get excited when my students come up to me with unique ideas that I've not heard of.
You can't let everybody tell you who you are or what your art is or how to be what you want to be.
I really let the students go according to how they're progressing, and I try to give them as much as they're able to handle.
Well, I like drawing a lot, and I like painting, and I like being able to improve my skill and show people my art.
I try to get them to think creatively. I think that's one of the few things that we as teachers really need to try to push with our students.
I can't sing. I can't act either, but I can do art. So that's why I chose art.
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. This week we are learning more about the GHS Kappa program. The music department's bands and choirs are consistently ranked in regional and state competitions. Here to discuss the benefits in music in the school is band director David Chipman and choral director Tim Wise. Thank you both for doing this interview with me today.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
I would like to start this interview talking about both of you all's programs. Starting with you, Mr. Chipman.
Okay.
Can you talk about all the classes that you offer for band students?
In the instrumental music department, in the band department, we offer intermediate band and we offer varsity band. And the difference between the two is just the level of performance that the student comes into the program with. Everybody has to audition coming in, and then I make a decision whether they're ready for the upper level varsity band or the intermediate band to continue building their skills.
And what about for the choral department, Mr. Wise?
Well, the choral department is comprised of 4 different vocal music ensembles. One of those is the Aka Devils, of which, of course, you're a part, Ternice. And Aka Devils is an a cappella pop group. Those sorts of students require a lot of skill and ability in regards to sight reading and rhythmic precision. Our women's chorus is comprised of predominantly freshmen. However, there are a few sophomores, juniors, and seniors in there, and they're oftentimes viewed as a beginner level group. However, they do have a lot of skills that need to be recognized. Our third group is Choral. They are an SATB ensemble that stands for soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And they sing multi-part music. They sing music that's on a slightly more difficult level than women's choir. And then chamber choir is considered the elite group in regards to the advanced level of music that they perform. And they perform music that is not just SATB, but oftentimes even those parts will split within themselves.
Performance-based classes are so unique. Mr. Wise, is there a certain curriculum that you have to follow?
So with choral music in the classroom, the state of Tennessee, and I believe it's the same for band too, sets a lot of standards in place for learning in the classroom for all areas, and that includes the creative and performing arts. And so we take the standards that are set by the state of Tennessee and set up our lessons, our daily rehearsals around those criteria with creating music, performing music, analyzing music. And so in some classes, like I also teach general music, there is a curriculum and a textbook that I used, but throughout the course of those ensembles that I spoke of earlier, all of those classes are not really structured with curriculum, but rather we use sheet music to guide us.
I'm sure your band and choir are very sought after, and as you just mentioned, Mr. Chipman, you have an audition process. Can you go into detail about how that audition process works?
The criteria for getting into our program is you have to have at least 2 years of middle school band in succession. Most students have 3 coming in. Most students start in 6th grade and they're in band 7th and 8th, and then that's the first criteria. And then I ask them to prepare a piece of music, either a solo they've done at the Solo and Ensemble Festival, or their audition music for the All West Tennessee Honor Bands, or just a piece of band music that they've been working on. I also ask them to perform scales, their major scales, as many as they know, and just do a little bit of sight reading, read a piece of music they've never seen before. And then based on that, I decide what level of band they go into in high school.
Mr. Wise, what is the audition process for choral students?
The audition process for choral students is very similar to what Mr. Chipman just described. Students will be required to come in, they'll sing a selection that they have prepared ahead of time, they will be given an opportunity to do some sight reading, and then we may do some individual vocalizing with warm-ups and things for me to get an idea of what their vocal range is like. So that helps me apply which voice part they will sing within the group. I also consider the types of experiences that they have in regards to middle school music, like Mr. Chipman mentioned. If they've been involved in any sort of all-state or all-West honor choirs in the past, again from elementary school, middle school, and even throughout high school. And here's to say that, we will gladly accept a student who has even, zero experience, as long as they exemplify a willingness to learn and a good attitude to work in class. We can develop and teach anybody as long as they're willing to put in the effort that it takes.
Right.
Mr. Wise, can you talk about the importance of student leadership in your class?
Absolutely. In all of the choirs here at Germantown High School, we have nominated or elected student leaders that have come from within the group, and oftentimes those students have been in the group previously. That isn't the case with women's choir because it's so freshman dominated, and so we have a lot of freshmen that are holding leadership positions in those groups. But all of those students are expected to exemplify positive behavior in the classroom. They're expected to give their best in regards to their abilities in class and their willingness to try and succeed and push their peers. So that's generally what we expect. And with the ensembles that have more experience, we of course expect that they have worked with a group before. We like to see what their leadership abilities are like. And every one of those groups have multiple positions within them, and so we have a president, a vice president, we have a secretary, a treasurer, and we have some other office positions as well. But we really just focus on students that are willing to put in the effort to help exemplify leadership.
Mr. Chipman, are there any student leadership opportunities for band students?
It's very similar to choir. We have student leaders in each instrumental section, like a trumpet section leader, a flute section leader, a clarinet section leader. And students have to be in their third or fourth year of band. They have to be a junior or senior with at least 2 years of experience in order to lead students. And I asked them to write a short essay on what the meaning of leadership is and what the meaning of, they have to have a servant's heart to be a leader. They have to want to give themselves to their fellow students. It's not and I tell them it's not about the glory. It may be 1% glory and 99% responsibility. That's what leadership is. And I try to drive that home before they even apply for it. So we have section leaders. We have a field commander, a student leader who conducts the band, conducts the marching band and assists the director. And we have a student band president who is really the top leader in the program, who helps me to oversee and manage the program and answers questions, answers concerns, and just everything like that. So.
That's one of the unique things too about both of our groups is that our leaders are expected to exemplify positive behavior and positive leadership, but also be able to establish and keep relationships with one another. Relationships are one of the biggest things I think that make up all music experiences. It's all about not just being a good musician, but it's also about being able to work with others and be a family and be a team. And we've talked about that a lot in our classes.
Right, it is an extended family. And that's what we try to drive home too, because if you can work with people, and you don't have to like them, but you have to learn to work with people, because that's a life skill. We try to teach life skills as well. Leadership, tenacity, time management. I mean, the performing arts teach all that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, Mr. Wise and Mr. Chipman, thank you for doing this interview with me.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
We have to take a break. After, we'll dive into the opportunities for our visual and theater arts students.
This is our time to dance. It is our way of celebrating life. Ready to cut loose? Join Ariel and Rin on the dance floor. for the Papa Pike Playhouse's production of Footloose. This stage adaptation features your favorite songs from the classic movie, as well as new ones. Footloose runs March 31st through April 9th. Get your tickets by visiting ppp.org. For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Ternice Anderson. Visual and theater arts offer students outlets for their emotions. Whether it's creating an art piece or an acting scene, these two mediums allow students to express themselves without judgment. Here to talk about their programs is theater director Jeff White and art instructor Shamiq Weddle. Thank you both for joining the show with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just like in the previous segment, I would like to start by talking about each of your individual programs. Starting with you, Mr. White, can you talk about the classes that you offer for theater students?
Yes, we have, I think, a really great program at GHS. It starts with Introduction to Theater, and that's open to any grade level. It gives you a nice overview of theater in all aspects, technical theater, acting, how theater is art. And then the course that you would take after that, there's two that you could take in your second year. You can either take acting or technical theater. Of course, acting is exactly what it sounds like. You focus on acting and the techniques of acting. Ternice, you were a fantastic acting student at one point. And then technical theater is a very hands-on class where they learn the ins and outs of building a set. Set design, costume design, sound design, lighting design, all those aspects. It's very hands-on, and they get to learn all those aspects. And then, of course, in the third and fourth years is theater production and production workshop are the classes that can be taken, and those are just very in-depth classes that are the most hands-on classes you could ever have in your entire life. Yeah, so it's a great program.
And what about for art, Mr. Weddle?
So we start off with Art 1, even though like, some people come in having some art experience already. But in terms of a college level, you know, hey, this is where you're going. High school starts with Art 1, and then it goes into Art 2 generally. But then like 3, 4 is like, all right, let's continue this thing, and you have some skill, or at least you've done well enough to go to the next level to think about the next move, which is AP. And AP is where you actually can get college credits. So, you know, and AP actually kind of breaks up into 3 parts as well, because you have the drawing, you have any kind of 2-dimensional art or 3-dimensional art like sculpture. So we actually try to tackle it all. And a lot of the sculpture part of it I'm trying to rebuild, which is still here, but I just want to kind of get it where it's full and, you know, you just see clay everywhere. But yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing. Art 1s are usually when you're getting the full scale of what you might do for an actual visual art thing, but I also show them some things in terms of the basics and what you could look at when you go to a gallery or a museum, and how to recognize certain works and who, you know, is where and who's what, so that anywhere you go in this world, you have some kind of information about any particular artist or art form.
And Mr. Weddle, what are some of the benefits that students get from creating art in your class?
Well, I mean, I think some of it is just, again, like he was saying before, the idea of hands-on and, you know, the learning in terms of just hand-eye coordination. But more importantly, some of the ideas of learning visual language, what color is and how do you see it. Stuff that we take for granted that actually has some science tied to it. So when they see all the science stuff around in my room, it's like, is this science class? Well, kind of, because we'll be using some chemistry, whether we are knowing the chemicals or not. And then in terms of understanding what those things are, we actually sometimes actually map it out in terms of what paints are, what particular, you know, chemicals, or what particular, where did this come from? Oh, that's cadmium, and here it is on the chart. So, you know, really trying to be, you know, across the board in terms of the subjects and being able to bridge it together, hopefully within some sort of visual field, but even if not that, the understanding. Because hopefully some of them might even go out to, you know, be curators or something, you know, who knows? They don't necessarily always have to be the artists.
And Mr. White, what are some of the benefits of theater education?
Well, I think the great thing about theater education is that it teaches you that there's something greater than yourself, that you become part of something that is much larger than you. And then you're involved in this process of telling a story for an audience. And it's the most collaborative art. And so you learn how to work with people. You learn how to you learn leadership skills. You learn critical thinking, problem solving, thinking quick, off your feet. You know, anything that helps you. Like I guess what theater does is it kind of like throws you into the deep end in terms of working with people, and you learn so many skills that you don't even realize you're learning. And when you're in the midst of producing a play, or even when you're in the midst of doing a duet scene in acting class, or a one-act competition, or whatever it is that you might be doing, when you are involved in that process, you are learning skills that you don't even, maybe you're not even consciously knowing that you're learning. And then I guess hopefully my main goal always as a theater educator is to help make empathetic people that care about not only themselves but everybody else, and think beyond themselves. And so hopefully, you know, the students that go through the theater classes get a little bit of that and learn that, and hopefully by the time they graduate, they're a little bit more empathetic and they're problem solvers and they're critical thinkers. Even if they do theater or not, they'll have learned skills that will really help them later on in life.
Well, we're going to focus a little bit longer on theater. Mr. White, you have an upcoming musical, Footloose, coming out. Why did you choose such a classic story?
Well, Footloose is one of my favorite movies of all time. I grew up loving Footloose, and I was starting to look at musicals, and I had never really read Footloose the musical. I was just a huge fan of the movie, and so I read it and I listened to it and had all the songs from the soundtrack, or most of the songs from the soundtrack, and I started to get excited. And I just think for now, at this time, with everything that we've been struggling with COVID-19 and Delta and Omicron and everything that's going on, it's just time to have some fun. It's just time to celebrate life. And that's the line in the show, right? This is our time to dance. This is our time to celebrate life. And I just felt like we just needed to have a lot of fun and celebrate. And this music is just so great. I love it. I'm a big Kenny Loggins. There's all the Kenny Loggins stuff in there. I love Kenny Loggins. I'm a huge fan. I just wanted to do something fun, and I'm hoping it's going to be a lot of fun for the audience, and everybody should come out and dance. Have a good time. Yeah.
Well, thank you both for doing this interview with me, and good luck on Footloose.
Well, break a leg on Footloose for you as well.
Thank you. If you'd like to learn more about Germantown High School's Creative and Performing Arts program, visit GHS-Kappa.com. Now, if you'd like information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we are streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm Ternice Anderson. From all of us here at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.